started. Welcome to the live streaming worship service of the Universalist Unitarian Church of Riverside. Today is July 19th, 2020. We welcome you to worship with us with an open mind and an open heart. Together, let us draw breath for our opening hymn, Come, Come, Whoever You Are. Please rise in spirit and join us. I am posting the words in the chat since they're not going to be in the video. For those of you who aren't familiar with the song, it's one verse, very simple. And nobody's going to know if you sing off key, so everybody join in.
Come, come, whoever you are, wanderer, worshipper, lover of leading, ours is no caravan of despair. Come, yet again come. Come, come, whoever you are, wanderer, worshipper, lover of leading, ours is no caravan of despair. Ours is no caravan of leading, ours is no caravan of despair. Ours is no
To worship, please read with me one of our Unitarian Universalist covenantal poems. Love is the doctrine of this church. The quest for truth is its sacrament, and service is its prayer. To dwell together in peace, to seek knowledge and freedom, to live in harmony with all the living creatures and plants of the earth. This do we affirm. Today, our speaker is my friend and co-worker, Pastor Kelvin Ward. The title of his talk is Policing in America and What a Public Safety System That Works for All Can Look Like. How did we get here? And where do we go from here? Pastor Kelvin Ward was born in Los Angeles and raised here in Riverside, California. He attended Riverside City College, majoring in business administration, and later California Baptist University, where he majored in religious studies. He has been in ministry for over 33 years, pastoring for 17 of those years. Since 2017, Pastor Ward has served as the Associate Pastor of Community Relations at Cathedral of Praise International Ministries in the city of San Bernardino, under the leadership of Bishop Craig Ward Johnson. Pastor Ward is currently employed full-time as a community organizer for Inland Congregations United for Change, ICUC, a faith-based nonprofit organization in the Inland Empire. In addition, Pastor Ward serves as the Clergy Formation and Violence Intervention Program organizer with ICUC. We have a couple of announcements we'd like to share. There is an important election in November, So, Social and Environmental Justice Committee members, make sure you watch for an email this afternoon with ways that you can help UU the vote. Also, ICUC is asking us to pledge to get counted in the 2020 census and to vote in November to support an equitable tax system. Text PICO ICUC to 40649 to find out how. If you're on the Social and Environmental Justice email list, in the email you get this afternoon, there'll be some information there also on how to pledge and to find out more information. Chat time is being held on Zoom 1/2 hour after service every Sunday. During July and August, our services begin at 9, so chat time will begin today at 10:30 a.m., just like it was once upon a time, real life, live. But to participate in chat time now, you need a separate Zoom invitation, so please go to our website for the Zoom chat time registration, www.uuchurchofriverside.org. Camp de Benneville Pines is closed through August. For updates and further information, please go to their website, uucamp.org. There has been a lot of coronavirus or COVID-19 hype and misinformation circulating. You can get the most accurate and up-to-date information specific to Riverside and San Bernardino counties at these websites. Riverside University Health System Public Health Coronavirus updates are at rivcoph.org/coronavirus, and the San Bernardino County Public Health Coronavirus updates are at wp.sbcounty.gov/dph/coronavirus. Members of some churches have received scam donation emails pretending to be from their church or pastor. If you receive an email asking for a donation, please verify if it was truly from our church. Do not click on any link and do not reply to the email. Send a separate email to us or give a call to our church office. Church office email is admin@uuchurchofriverside.org. The church office phone is area code 951-686-6515. Let us acknowledge that we walk upon the traditional territories of the Moronga, the original people of this land, who continue to cry out for justice and self-determination. In honor of the Moronga people, we, the Universalist Unitarian Church of Riverside, light this sacred flame as stewards of this sacred and holy place. We are blessed with a space and opportunity to strive to live out our common principles, to bring justice, equity, and compassion into our daily lives, to resist all that threatens the earth and her people, and to live out our dream of a world community of peace, liberty, and justice for all. Let these thoughts carry us forth as we journey and worship together. The chalice is the sacred symbol of our faith. We light it to remind us of the light of reason, the warmth of community, and the flame of hope. Our chalice lighting this morning is "Blessed is the Fire That Burns Deep in the Soul" by Eric A. Heller Wagner. Blessed is the fire that burns deep in the soul. It is the flame of the human spirit, touched into being by the mystery of life. It is the fire of reason, the fire of compassion, the fire of community, the fire of justice, the fire of faith. It is the fire of love burning deep in the human heart, the divine glow of every life. Our next hymn is Wake Now My Senses. Please rise once more in spirit and join us.
Wake now my senses and hear the earth call. Feel the deep power of being in all. Keep with the web of creation your vow. Giving, receiving as love shows us how. Wake now my reason, reach out to the new. Join with each pilgrim whose quest for the true. Honor the beauty and wisdom of time. Suffer thy limit and praise the sublime. Wake now compassion, give heed to the cry. Voices of suffering fill the white sky. Take as your neighbor both stranger and friend, praying and striving their hardship to end. Wake now my conscience with justice thy guide. Join with all people whose rights are denied. Take not for granted a privileged place. God's love embraces the whole human race. Wake now my vision of ministry clear. Brighten my pathway with radiance here. Mingle my calling with all who will share. Work toward a planet transformed by our care.
Sharing joys and concerns is an important part of belonging to this beloved community. Each week, our Caring Network collects joys and concerns you wish to share, and on Sunday, we read what has been received. Please email or text your joys and concerns to Dinah Rowe, our Caring Network coordinator. Her email is ramblinrose22@yahoo.com, or you can call or text her on Bill's phone, 909-835-5467. One ongoing concern is that our church, like so many, has had a significant loss of income since the governor issued the stay-at-home order. We have canceled having paid speakers and furloughed our pianist. We've also made other significant reductions. Even so, our financial situation is difficult. Our first new concern is from Lee Greer. He says, my younger sister Ruth has stage 4 breast cancer. Metastasis has been found in lymph nodes and the opposite hip. A concern from Pat Coander. Ted has been in the hospital again this week. And from Bonnie, a joy and a concern. A concern and a joy. Supreme Court Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg says her cancer has returned, but that chemotherapy is yielding positive results. She said she's been able to keep up with all court work and plans to remain on the court. A concern, when shared, is divided. We place a symbolic stone in our water chalice for all the concerns we have shared and all those we have not. Know that we are here to support each other. There were no new joys shared this week, so I'm going to unmute everyone for a moment so anyone who has a joy to share with us can do so. We're all either unmuted or able to unmute yourself, so feel free, if you have a joy to share with us.
This is Lee, and one of my joys has been harvesting peaches this summer. This week we had a fairly large
Awesome.
group of peaches and harvested.
All right. A joy when shared is multiplied. We place a symbolic stone in our water chalice for the joys we have shared and those we have not. Know that we celebrate together, if from a safe distance, at this time. Sharing our stewardship is how we can give of ourselves. We take 3 types of collections every week. The first 2 are for our Riverside community. Our Social Justice Committee distributes food and hygiene items in front of our church every Thursday morning. We collect dry good food items for the food insecure, such as pasta, granola bars, crackers, and powdered milk. We also collect hygiene items for anyone who needs them, such as toothbrushes, travel-size soaps, shampoos, shaving kits, and socks. Please email the church office to make an appointment to bring food and hygiene items. Great Lakes script cards and Stater Brothers cards can also be donated to help purchase food and hygiene items. You can get these through our church office. Once again, the church office email is admin@uuchurchofriverside.org. Our third collection is sharing our treasure. This offering is how we fund all that we do to minister to and care for our congregation and our neighbors. That includes how we care for our beloved and aging church. We have several ways that we can accept your donation. You may mail your donation to the church office, please, no cash. Our church office address is Universalist Unitarian Church of Riverside, 3657 Lemon Street, Riverside, California, 92501. You can also make a digital donation. You can visit our website for a PayPal link at uuchurchofriverside.org/community/donate. If you have a smartphone, you can use the QR code that's displayed now to go to PayPal. I'll leave that QR code for a couple seconds. I'd like to scan it now. We have a wonderful way to financially support our church at no cost to us and no extra cost to you. We have Stater Brothers cards for your grocery shopping that earns our church a percentage of what you spend. Buy a card and go shopping at Stater Brothers, and you might even find hand sanitizer. Also, once a month, we order Great Lakes script cards. Please contact Dinah Rowe or the church office to purchase Stater Brothers cards or for information on ordering Great Lakes script cards. Once more, Dinah's email is ramblinrose22@yahoo.com, and the church office email is admin@uuchurchofriverside.org. You can also feel good about giving when making purchases through the Amazon Smile program. Go to smile.amazon.com. Make sure you have the smile dot before Amazon and choose Universalist Unitarian Church as your charity. We receive 0.5% of your qualifying purchases. Also, by using Amazon gift cards purchased through our script cards program, we receive both the script card percentage and the Amazon Smile percentage. You can also donate your talents and or sharpen your skills by volunteering to be a speaker, worship associate like I am today, a musician, or a singer. Maybe you're great on Instagram and have noticed we aren't doing a lot there right now. We also have a Twitter account. What are you interested in that might be helpful to this church you love? If you're willing to be a worship volunteer, please email worship@uuchurchofriverside.org. Please donate and participate as the Spirit moves you by whatever method works best for you. Thank you for your generosity. And to those who give of their time and their talent, thank you for your generous care and attention. Our meditation is Love Looks Different by Reverend Julie Taylor. Love is patient. Love is kind. It does not envy. It is not proud. Love bears all things. We know these words, use these words when we refer to one person loving another. Love looks different when we relate to systems. Love looks different in the face of injustice. It is then that love is resistant. Love is defiant. It is not backing down. It is staying in the streets. Love is holding each other accountable, and holding each other and ourselves accountable. Love is challenging because none of us is free until all of us are free. Love is protest. Protest is love. Love bears all things. Amen, Shalom, Satu, Ashe, and blessed be. Our sermon again this morning is Policing in America, presented by Pastor Kelvin Ward. I see he has joined us now, so I'm going to go ahead and unmute him and turn it over to him.
Hey, good morning, everyone. I truly appreciate you all at the Universalist Unitarian Church of Riverside, my hometown where I grew up. Everyone that's viewing this service this morning, and I want to especially thank my good friend and brother, Adam Wedding King, for inviting me into this space to share and worship with you all this beautiful day. Apologize for the noise in the background. We're just concluding service here in San Bernardino, but it'll quiet down in a moment. Let me begin by saying that this is going to be a very different sermon for some of you, perhaps, but I know it will be at the same time and prove to be very informative and inspiring as well. So let's get right into it. The theme for this morning is policing in America and what a public safety system that works for all can look like. I want to frame the sermon topic as how did we get here and where do we go from here? The birth and development of the American policing system can be traced to a multitude of historical, legal, as well as political, economic conditions. The institution of slavery and the control of minorities, however, were two of the more formidable historic features of American society shaping early policing. Slave patrols and night watches, which they were commonly named and referred to, which later became modern police departments, were both designed to control the behaviors of minorities. Policing was not the only social institution that was enmeshed in slavery. Slavery was fully institutionalized in the American economic and legal order, which laws being enacted at both the state and national divisions of government. Virginia, for example, enacted more than 130 slave statutes between 1689 and 1865. Slavery and the abuse of people of color, however, was not merely a Southern affair, as many have been taught to believe. Connecticut, New York, and other colonies enacted laws allowing the detention and return of escaped slaves in 1793 and 1850. As Turner, Giuseppe, and Vandever remarked in an article that was written, the literature clearly establishes that a legally sanctioned law enforcement system existed in America before the Civil War for the express purpose of controlling the slave population and protecting the interest of slave owners. Let me repeat that. For controlling the slave population and protecting the interest of slave owners. When you look at that statement and you reflect in your mind about what that must have looked like back then, and then you juxtapose that to today, it has so many similarities. And there were the similarities between the slave patrols and modern American policing are too salient to dismiss or ignore. So when we look at it and deeply dive into thought around this and the conscious awareness of the system, the slave patrol should be considered a forerunner of modern American law enforcement. So let's fast forward to present day America. Black Americans are killed at a much higher rate than white Americans. Although half of the people shot and killed by police are white, Black Americans are shot at a disproportionate rate. They account for less than 13% of the US population, but are killed by police at more than twice the rate of white Americans. Hispanic Americans are also killed by police at a disproportionate rate. I looked at a particular study that indicated Black people in the US are killed by police more often than white people. Young Black men are at the highest risk. A 2019 study found that Black men aged 25 through 29 were killed at rates between 2.8 and 4.1 in 100,000. Neighborhoods are also a factor. Death rates are highest in poor neighborhoods and neighborhoods with high non-white populations, but Black people are again at the highest risk of being killed in white neighborhoods. From a CNN article that I read dated March 21st, 2019, a study of nearly 100 million traffic stops from around the country has concluded that on an average, Black drivers are 20% more likely to get pulled over than white drivers. In an article from the Pew Research Center dated June 3rd, 2020, entitled 10 Things That We Need to Know, or 10 Things We Know About Race and Policing in the US, and those 10 things are as follows. Number one, majorities of both Black and white Americans say Black people are treated less fairly than whites in dealing with police and by the criminal justice system as a whole. Let me say that again. Majorities of both Black and white Americans, these were not just Black Americans, but both Black and white Americans say Black people are treated less fairly than whites in dealing with the police and the criminal justice system as a whole. Number two, Black adults are about 5 times as likely as whites to say they've been unfairly stopped by police because of their race or ethnicity. Again, Black adults are about 5 times as likely as whites to say they have been unfairly stopped by police because of their race or ethnicity. Now, let me say a couple things here. One, I'm not anti-police. I want to make that very clear. I am not anti-police. I'm not anti-anyone. I'm anti-injustice. I'm anti-racism. I'm anti a white supremacist system that finds its, that a lot of our systems, I should say, finds its foundation in. But I'm not anti, and I'm not just saying this because you all are on the call this morning and in this service. I'm not. I wasn't raised that way. Again, I was born in Watts, California, actually in 1965 during the Watts riots, but moved to Riverside when I was about 3 months old. I matriculated educationally, pre-K through college in Riverside. Most of the educational institutions that I matriculated through, most of the population were white. The community I grew up in Riverside was very diverse. I grew up under the roof of a very strong, spiritually strong mother who advocated against anyone that was treated less than anyone else because of whether it was their ethnic background, racial background, sexual affiliation. My mom was actually before her time as I look back on it, but taught us not to be prejudiced against anyone. And I'm not just saying this too as a cliche, but some of my best friends were both white and Black as well as Hispanic, because that's just the neighborhood I grew up in Riverside, California. And so I was taught to treat everyone with respect, including the police, which I still do to this day. But what I do not respect and what I do stand against, again, is the marginalization of any group, as well as racism, prejudice for any reason. Now, that does not make me perfect. I'm still learning a lot, but that's my background. So in saying that too, and the second thing that I read was, again, Black adults are about 5 times as likely as whites to say that they've been unfairly stopped by police because of their race or their ethnicity. It's happened to me on a number of occasions. I may get to that later, but for sake of time, I want to move through this. So number 3, white Democrats and white Republicans have vastly different views of how Black people are treated by police and the wider justice system. Number 4, nearly 2/3 of Black adults, 65%, say they've been in situations where people acted as if they were suspicious of them because of their race or ethnicity, while only 1/4 of white adults say that's happened to them. I remember, again, growing up in Riverside, I remember one of the great days in our lives, in my family, growing up in a single parent household, was a day that we got a credit card from May Company, I believe it was. No, Broadway. My mom got a Broadway credit card. And so we went shopping at Broadway. Many of you know that Broadway was the old, I want to say Robinson's May at the Tyler Mall, or now it's Galleria at Tyler, but back then it was Tyler Mall. Forgot what store came after. But anyway, my point being, every time we went in that store, and I'm laughing about it now, every time we went in that store, because at the time that store had plainclothes security. Every time we went in that store, my mom and I, security would start following us. every time we went in that store, and I'm not exaggerating, every time. And my mom would pull me to the side because I was like, Mom, why is that guy following us? You know, do you know him? My mom would tell me, you know, no, that's security. They think we're going to steal something and they're following us more than likely. And she would always give people the benefit of the doubt, but more than likely because we're Black. And growing up in that environment, and again, having white friends, Black friends, Hispanic friends, that I believe were not so much colorblind, because I don't like that expression, because color is color. God made us this way. So anybody that says, you know, I'm colorblind, I don't see color, they're living in some type of bubble that I have not yet to see or have visited. But we're all made in these wonderful, godly created shades, and I love it. But again, growing up in that environment just really shook me, as it were. Number 5, Black Americans are far less likely than whites to give police high marks for the way that they do their jobs. And I'll be the first to say, as I speak to many of my Black friends, family members, a lot of us do not trust police. There's this great divide between people in the Black community and police. And it's a divide that I'm trying to close that gap, to be honest with you. 6, in the past, police officers and the general public have tended to view fatal encounters between Black people and police very differently. One of the reasons I've been invited in this space, and I really admire and commend your church and my brother Adam for creating these types of conversations, because one thing that I've been telling people is that until we allow ourselves to engage intentionally into these conversations, there can't be healing, there can't be enlightenment, there can't be education as to why we both feel, act, and think and operate the way that we do. 7, around 2/3 of police officers, 68%, said that in 2016, that the demonstrations over the deaths of Black people during encounters with law enforcement were motivated to a great extent by anti-police bias. Number 8, white police officers and their Black colleagues have starkly different views on fundamental questions regarding the situation of Blacks in American society. Number 9, again, I apologize for rushing through this. If we have time at the end and you need me to come back, I will. Number 9, a majority of officers said in 2016 that relations between the police in their department and Black people in the community that they serve were excellent or good. And an overwhelming, number 10, majority of police officers, that's 86%, said in 2016 that high-profile fatal encounters between Black people and police officers had made their jobs harder. So Adam and I both work as community organizers for the same nonprofit organization, Inland Congregations United for Change, which is an affiliate of PICO National and Faith in Action. And nationwide, we've launched a campaign as we move toward a brighter future relative to policing in America and what a new law enforcement system will and should look like under the Live Free framework of HEAT. HEAT is an acronym for hiring, equipment, accountability, and training. And it's a framework that Adam helped lead about 3 or 4 years ago in Riverside with the police department there. The new framework is different. I know a lot of you have heard of many cities calling for the dismantling as well as defunding of the police department. This is what I believe personally, that the police departments as well as the police, or police, I should say, I believe should not be dismantled. I believe that there should be a dismantling in the system that we see, because the system is broken and it's not working for a lot of people. I do believe in the defunding slash reallocation of funds. And I believe that more funds should be used and should go toward more community-based systems and organizations that have been proven to work in communities like ours. But the HEAT framework, there's been a mandate, a manifesto that's been put out by HEAT, and it's 1, to fire all racist cops, 2, to defund and replace most police functions with community-based services. Again, it's not all, but most. And then 3, to reconstruct remaining systems. So, as a people of faith and moral and ethical principles and standards, what can we do? Number 1, and we're engaged in it this morning, and that is to talk about it. I believe that's one of the major keys, is that we need to, again, have more conversations around racism, anti-Blackness, so forth and so on. Black Lives Matter, the Black Lives Matter movement, what does that look like? How can we support? How can we help? Isaiah 1:18 and A. The beginning of Isaiah 1 and 18, A says, "Come now and let us reason together, says the Lord." I believe in sitting down with people and getting to understand where they're coming from. And I may leave that conversation not agreeing, but at least I want to understand, because this is just me personally. I've been able to help support causes that I may not agree with, but that I understand. Let me say that again. I've been able to support causes that I may not agree with, and I know that may sound a little bit schizophrenic, but it's not, but that I understand. And so I want to, again, point that out, that we need to talk about it. And then number 2, we need to unite. Leviticus 26:8 says, 5 of you shall chase 100, and 100 of you shall put 1,000 to flight. Your enemies shall fall by the sword before you. We're better together. Teamwork makes the dream work. Matthew 18:20 says, for where 2 or 3 are gathered together in my name, I am in the midst of them. So we need to unite. Number 1, we need to talk about it. Number 2, we need to unite. And number 3, we need to move into action. James 2:14-17 says, dear friends, do you think you'll get anywhere in this if you learn all the right words but never do anything? Does merely talking about faith indicate that a person really has it? For instance, you come upon an old friend dressed in rags and half-starved and say, good morning, friend. Be clothed in Christ, be filled with the Holy Spirit, and walk off without providing so much as a coat or cup of soup. Where does that get you? Isn't it obvious that God talk without God acts is outrageous nonsense? And then the last scripture I want to share with you is from Isaiah 1:17. And it says, quit your worship charades. I can't stand your trivial religious games, monthly conferences, weekly Sabbaths, special meetings. I can't stand one more. Meetings for this, meetings for that. I hate them. You've worn me out. I'm sick of your religion, while you go right unseen. sinning. When you put on your next prayer performance, I'll be looking the other way. No matter how long or loud or often you pray, I'll not be listening. And do you know why? Because you've been tearing people to pieces and your hands are bloody. Go home and wash up. Clean up your act. Sweep your lives clean of evil doings so I don't have to look at them any longer. Say no to wrong. Learn to do good. Work for justice. Help the down and out. Stand up for the homeless. Go to bat for the defenseless. Again, this is what policing in America and what a public safety system that works for all can look like. This is how did we get here, and where do we go from here? I hope this has been a blessing to you all. I hope you've been enlightened in some kind of way. Let me say this, that I don't have all the answers at all. I do believe I have a few, but I don't have all the answers. I'm a 54-year-old Black American that's been living in this country for 54 years, and I don't have it all figured out. And that's why we need each other so that we can come to some semblance of how we can use our faith, our moral and ethical compass, our education, our intellect, and our experiences to love one another and to be a better people for the next generation to see, because our generation is going to be judged on what we do in these moments. So God bless you. Thank you, Adam. Thank you, Universalist Unitarian Church of Riverside.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing with us. That was great. And I'm hoping after we finish, you'll be able to stay on if there's some questions. Yeah, cool. All right. All right. Our closing hymn is "We'll Build a Land." Please rise in spirit and join us.
Instead of ashes,
For our benediction, please close your eyes and reach out to each other in your thoughts. Feel the connection between us, the interconnected web, joining us as a community, a church family. Our benediction is Holy and Generous Love by Elena Westbrook. Go in hope, for the arc of the universe is long, and we can bend it toward justice. Go in courage, for together we have the strength to confront injustice in our daily lives and the larger world. Go in love, because a holy and generous love is both the reason and the means by which we transform our lives. Amen, Shalom, Satu, Ashe, and blessed be. All right. Thanks for joining us, everybody. I'll go ahead and open it up. Stop screen sharing there. Go ahead and open it up if anybody's got questions for our speaker this morning. Feel free. Go ahead. You guys are all unmuted. So.
Good morning, Pastor Kelvin Ward. It's good to see you again. I've seen you before by Zoom, but what steps may we take right now that can help expedite things, for instance, in our city here, wherever we may happen to be?
One thing is to, which I know you already have, but to connect with Adam, because Adam is really the direct source relative to anything that we're doing nationally that trickles down to our local federations. And as I always tell people, if it's not ICUC, Inland Congregations United for Change, get involved in some form of social justice organization. And if you cannot, which really none of us really can physically be involved, but even if it's relative to you making meetings, if you donate, a lot of places, I think the lowest amount that you can donate to an organization for the most part is like $5. Even some are like $1. Donate some money if you can't actually be involved in the meetings, because it helps, because most of these organizations are grassroots. They run off of either private donations or some type of funding that's limited. And during these COVID times and these days of uncertainty, some of that funding is shaky. And so a lot of these organizations are depending on you. Last thing I'll say, Pat, and to everyone else, is get more involved in your city council meetings. Find out if you have some type of inside track into city council, what they're going to be agendized for the upcoming meeting. Study that agenda and find out what you can do and use your voice. A lot of us tend to be very timid when it comes to speaking up or speaking out. And I have this unique gift of pushing people into spaces that they tend to be timid of. But speak out at your city council meetings and get to know your city officials. And so that's what the advice I would give. Thank you for your question.
Really quick, Bill, can you try saying something? This it says host is not allowing you to unmute yourself. See, you don't have even that you're muted. That's weird.
I can see they are muted.
That they are, and I can't.
Yeah.
Shows me that they're not muted, and I try to hit mute, and Nothing happened.
I think they have to unmute themselves.
It says that the host is not allowing that. Let me try that. Let me try muting everybody and unmuting everybody again here. You unmute all. No, mute all.
I think they have to
When-
unmute themselves.
Yes, when you take that action, Adam, it gives us the option of unmuting ourselves, which I just took. They should have that option pop up on their screen too.
But they probably don't know that.
Okay.
You say it, so tell her to text.
Yeah, if you've got a question, you can post it in the chat.
Yep.
Let's see. Do all. So, looks like they might be typing. Are there any other questions? Really quick though, Pastor Ward mentioned following your city council, Riverside residents, your mayor pro tem, I believe that's her official title, Erin Edwards, who's also the city councilwoman for the ward the church is in, is very good at, if you follow her on her social media, she's very good at posting what they're going to be talking about each week, and how you can get more involved in this stuff. So make sure you follow her. Okay, I don't know if you saw that, Pastor Ward, but it says, what specific steps to reorganize public safety, including the police department? How?
All right, what specific steps to reorganize public safety, including the police department? To be honest, and thank you for your question, it looks different for every city because every city has its different challenges. Like for instance, in San Bernardino, I'm not leading a charge to defund the police department. Well, let me start to dismantle the police department, as some cities are, because I do believe that we need the police and policing. What I'm looking to do, and we're still having conversations around it, we'll answer your question as I tell you what we're doing.
Could put my video back up.
Is we are looking to not so much even defund, but reallocate funding. In the city of San Bernardino, if you can imagine this, 63% of the annual budget of San Bernardino, city of San Bernardino, goes to our police department. 63%. To me, that's outrageous. I don't, as I call it, like to be in anybody's pocket. And when
Let's just start video.
I don't try to. Oh, I'm getting a message from that. Oh, okay. Can everybody see me?
Yeah, you're good. I think I shut off the rows accidentally.
So in San Bernardino, it's we look different from Oakland. We look a lot different from, Riverside, even Riverside. I have a very good relationship with San Bernardino Police Department. I have a very good relationship with the chief of police. I'm not trying to get him fired. I'm not even trying to take money off his table relative to feeding his family. But when we look, as we've been having conversations around policing, specifically in San Bernardino, what it looks like, and what I want to say, what I want to elaborate, I want to elaborate by saying, how many calls do police go on that are, mental health calls that they're not really trained for, but because of the way that the system is structured, they have to go out on. I think that's calls when they're not, violent, and there's not someone brandishing a weapon that would call for the police to be called in. But if it's a issue, even with domestic violence, if there's a husband and a wife, having a heated conversation, there's no weapon involved. I don't think police need to be called for something of that nature. When it's a call, somebody's window is broken out of an apartment, it's been broken out for months, I don't think police need to be called. So some of these these active police calls, I believe, need to be redirected to other agencies. And in saying that, I think that's where, the argument is made to reallocate those funds. Again, we're not trying to fire police. I'm not trying to take food off of anyone's table, but there's agencies like ICUC, or within ICUC, we work with agencies that can take those calls. So those are some of the steps relative to determining how we can reorganize or recreate a public safety system, as the question was asked by William Rowe. And again, some of those steps are to sit down and see what's the makeup of Riverside, what the challenges are relative to policing, and how those structures can be reshaped. And then again, like I said, going back to city council, you go to your city council meetings and you make public comments about what you want to see happen in your city. And so that's what that would be my answer to that question.
There were three.
Can you hear me?
He can hear me. There was 3 police department or police unions in California that I think there were like 8 steps or something that they think can be taken within the police departments to help improve service.
Adam, is that? I'm trying to think of the organization.
Probably the eight can't wait.
Yeah.
Which I'll post here in the chat.
Yeah, please.
I know our Riverside Police Department, I believe, has committed to doing what isn't already being done on the 8 can't wait list. But there in the chat, you can find it. It's 8cantwait.org, and it's got, let's see, I can show it right here.
It's banning chokeholds and strangleholds.
Yeah.
Require de-escalation, require warning before shooting, requires exhaust of alternatives before shooting, duty to intervene, ban shooting at moving vehicles, require use of force continuing, require comprehensive reporting. And another thing is, like I know in the city of San Bernardino, we have these monthly, they're called Coffee with Cops, the police meet with community at a local Denny's. Those are good meetings to be in, to challenge police respectfully. I've been in a few of those meetings. One of the challenges I have, and Riverside, I think, is leading in this area, and that is in San Bernardino, only about 3% of police officers on the force actually live in the city of San Bernardino. To me, that's just it's problematic. Again, and I'm not trying to tell people where to live, and I'm not trying to tell people again how much money they need to make. But I believe that you need to be, wherever you work, I believe you should be vested in that community. So if only 3% of those officers live in the community, more than likely they weren't born in it's not like they were born in the community and left because they could. More than likely, they never lived in the city, which means they've never breathed the city like the community has. They don't really have a heart and a passion for that community. And in that case, when you if let's just think about this for a minute, think about this construct. If I grew up in Africa and never visited America, and I moved from Africa to America, I would not know what I was doing, where to go, what to expect. I would not know how to move about, as it were. Would not understand the culture, the makeup of communities. And with policing, I believe when officers really haven't grown up either in that community or in a community like that, it's hard for them to understand that community. It's like in teaching, I have a lot of, my wife is a teacher, and I have a lot of teachers in my educators in my family. And teachers have to, when they look at students, they can't look at students the same. You can have a Black student that comes in that's acting rambunctious. That's an old word, I know, I'm dating myself. And if that teacher does not know or does not understand the makeup of that child, where that child comes from community-wise, they may not be able to engage in that student, sends them to the office, so forth and so on. We've heard of the school to prison pipeline. But if they don't understand enough to engage with that student, that here that student is acting out because they come from a community where perhaps they didn't eat the night before, didn't have breakfast, they come to school, they're angry because of that, and because they had to walk 2 miles through gang territory, or they saw their friend that night shot, or the friends that they normally walk to school with, 4 in a group. I always use this analogy. They walk 4 in a group, to school, but because their friend was shot and killed the night before, now there's only 3 of them, and they come to school and they're agitated and they're irritated and they're frustrated, but the teacher doesn't engage or doesn't understand because there's no cultural training. They can ruin that child's life. And the same with police, the same with me as a faith leader. If I don't understand, if I don't engage with people that don't look like me, then I'm not gonna understand when a Hispanic person walks through the doors of my church, or a white person walks through the doors of my church. So it's everybody, we're in this together. I see Bonnie has her hand up.
Yeah. I know that ICUC works on the issue of training with police, and police are trained and rehearse a lot about how, when they're training to become police, about how to deal with people who are aggressive or threatening. But I don't believe they have very much training about what to do. It often is there in law, or in their rule books, but I don't think they have much, if any, training about what to do if a fellow officer is not acting appropriately, if a fellow officer is about to shoot somebody wrongly, or is using some technique like a chokehold inappropriately. And if you don't rehearse those things, then there's a natural tendency to hesitate, especially if it's a senior officer. And I wonder if that's an issue that's being addressed.
It's not an issue that we've looked at. It's an issue that I've thought about, particularly after we I shouldn't say all of us, most of us had seen the video of the George Floyd death / murder. And we saw semblance of that occurring. And I agree with you, Bonnie. It's something that police officers need to be trained in, more. I had this conversation with a friend of mine probably days after that happened, and we talked about how even, and I'm not trying to get off the subject, and I'm not trying to justify anyone's behavior, but just let me hear me out. Intrinsically, even when we show up on our jobs and we see something, if we just show up and we're within a probationary period and we see something that's going on that's not right, we have a tendency, most of us, intrinsically, not to say something. Because, our thought is, I'm new on this job, I have a family to feed, I've been unemployed for the last 3 months. Thank God I just got a job. What should I do? And so, again, not trying to, justify that behavior within our police departments, but it's training that they need, that we all need. Let me say this. The Rashad Brooks, if anyone knows about that case, Rashad Brooks, I think it was Atlanta, correct me if I'm wrong, anyone. He was murdered, killed by police. I believe it was outside of I forgot what fast food restaurant. It was said that he was asleep in the drive-through. Police came up. Next thing we know, he was running with a taser, get shot and killed. I watched about 30 minutes of that video from the time that the officer approached him in the drive-through yesterday, 30 minutes. And in watching that video, there was so much, and I'm not just saying this, there was so much care and concern that officer had for that man prior to that incident happening. And I'm not sure, because I haven't watched the last part yet, but the officer that was first on site, I'm trying to figure out, and I'll watch it the rest today. It's on YouTube, but I'm trying to, I will ascertain, I should say, after I look at the rest of the video, who actually shot him. I don't think it was the officer that was with him it was probably about 20 minutes until the other officer showed up. I do know that the other officer that showed up actually handcuffed him or tried and placed him, or was trying to place him under arrest. But there was 20 minutes of this guy just, are you all right, sir? Have you had too much to drink? Where were you going? Do you have your license? And even when he stepped out of the car, just the de-escalation, the human concern that this officer had. So here's my point. It goes back to what I said before. I'm not anti-police, but I'm anti-racist police. I'm anti, this system that has been, and they call it, the blue code within law enforcement, where there's this hush hush. We don't tell on each other. And so, again, good question that you offer up, Bonnie. I come from the Baptist church, so I'm a little bit long-winded. So forgive me when as I may over elaborate on answering some of your questions, but I appreciate them nonetheless.
Right. Yeah, and I think, Lee, you posted there something. I think that's a great, getting police officers out of schools. I think that's really important. We've crossed the line where we're criminalizing kids for behavioral issues, for issues they're having at school, and we're making them criminals, turning young kids into criminals, giving them records, and it's really bad. And I think ending that school to prison pipeline is really important. I think one of the first big steps.
I'm going to have to leave myself for chat time, but it's been excellent being part of this service. Thank you so much.
Yeah, I was just saying we were getting ready to start our 10:30 chat time group, which is a different Zoom. So we will all be, I think, logging off here. But thank you, Pastor Ward, for joining us. It was really, really great. I'm really glad you're able to like mesh it in and get it in with your own church schedule. That's
Excellent.
really awesome.
Excellent service.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
See staff meeting on tomorrow morning.
Okay. All right. Bye now.
See you guys later.
Shortly.